episode of A Fresh Perspective with Jeff Charles, where we prefer truth over narrative and principles over politics. I got another fire guest for you, and you're going to love this one. He's world famous. Everybody knows who this man is, and I'm very proud to have him on my show. Before I get into everything, please like this video. Please share this video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified every time I upload a video. Also, before I go forward, I want to remind you that LibertyNation.com is a proud sponsor of A Fresh Perspective with Jeff Charles. Check out LibertyNation.com for all of your conservatarian news, original articles, analysis, videos, podcasts, Liberty Nation Radio, and their signature TV program, The Conservative Five, all on LibertyNation.com. Conservative news where truth matters. Now, without further ado, I would like to bring on my guest, the illustrious, the mighty Hotep Jesus.
Hey.
Yeah.
What up, man?
You had to do something like that because when I watch your interviews, I see you doing that. I'm like, man, I want to be able to do that too. So
yeah, I got a board. I got a soundboard.
Oh, you got an actual soundboard. Okay. Oh, so you're all high tech over there.
Yeah, I got a cloudifier, a microphone. I got the Shure. I got the soundboard. See, what happens is like all my homies are YouTubers, like dedicated YouTubers. Mm-hmm. So I was like the only guy who wasn't a dedicated YouTuber. So like I'm on podcasts with them, like Donovan Sharp and all those guys. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting here with my $100 Yeti, and I just felt like out of place. And I'm like, nah, I got to step my life up. I got to step my YouTube game up. So I stream every day now. You know what I mean? But it's just, you know how they always say, like, you are the sum of the 5 people you're around.
Right.
So like, if I'm around YouTubers and they like, yo, Hotep, why you don't be publishing videos? I'm like, all right, let me step my game up.
I've noticed that you've been doing a lot more video content lately. Yeah. And now you got me feeling bad here with my $100 Yeti mic. So now I feel like I got to step it up now. You see what's happening here? Like, I'll next time you and I do something like this, I'm probably gonna have a much better mic because you shamed me into it now.
Well, yeah. It's a good mic though. Like, it's not a bad mic at all. Yeah. You know, just you slowly upgrade, right? So, you know, I probably had the Yeti for like a year or more. So don't feel obligated to upgrade. When the time is ready, it'll present itself.
That's true. So, I mean, I'm very excited about this interview, but I think you're probably going to be my most challenging guest so far because you're into so much different stuff that I have questions about, and there's no way I'll be able to fit them all into one interview. So hopefully we can do this again because you've got a lot going on, and
I'm here whenever you need me. I'm here, bro.
Sweet. I appreciate that. I mean, because you are a very interesting person. I'm not just saying that to compliment you. Like, that's actually true. Like, if you actually look into who Hotep Jesus is, he's got his hands in business, marketing, you know, Twitter game, politics, Black history, like you name it, he's got something to do with it. So that's why I really appreciate you. But I do want to talk a little bit about politics and then maybe transition to some other stuff.
Okay.
But I want to talk about something that's on everybody's mind. It's on your mind and on my mind. What do you think of President Joe Biden's Build Crack Better plan? I know you've got some opinions on those crack pipes.
Yeah, I heard it was called the George Floyd bill.
Oh, yeah. See, now you're gonna get me in trouble.
Listen, man. Reagan put crack in the hood. Biden reinforced it. It's the same old politics, man. I did a video on my channel yesterday, and I think what the saddest part about this is the budget that went into this. $30 million, okay? $30 million to support drug habits. The spin is to make it safer. And to me, it's like the Nation of Islam didn't need $30 million to get people off of drugs when they were operating and as they still operate, right? Malcolm X was rehabilitating people out of that type of lifestyle. So, you know, I don't think, I think the 30 million was wasteful. I think it could have gone into more productive programs. Yeah, it could have rehabilitated the small businesses they killed with the lockdowns. How about that, right?
Mm.
Um, but I ran into some interesting information last night. I don't know if it's still relevant. I haven't had a chance to look it up. We just launched our new site, menoforder.com. So I was busy with that this morning. But basically, what they said was uh, Wall Street is relying upon uh, the drug business. And I don't know if the laws have changed, but when this video was released, basically what they were saying is you can't launder money unless you're a publicly traded company or something like that. So I have to go and look at the bills and the laws and see what's going on. But apparently there was some sort of symposium, and they called companies in like General Electric and told them, hey, cool out with all the money laundering that you guys are doing, you know. But I think if somebody drops 30 million to support a drug habit, they must have ulterior motives. They can't be trusted, and maybe they do have an some sort of stake in the game of the drug business. I don't know. It just seems counterproductive to what you would want to do for the Black community. What else is alarming is they put this under racial equity, right?
Yes.
So, right. At first, when I made my hyperbolic tweet, I say it's for Black people, but like, no, it's literally for Black people, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's literally for Black people. So he's like, hey, I got crack pipes for Black people. Like, it started off like people thought it was a joke. People were like, this has to be fake news. And people
I thought
look
it
it
was
up.
satire.
And it's literally like a Babylon Bee. Joe Biden's giving crack pipes to the Black community, right? And it's under like racial equity. So it's just like, what, the Black community doesn't have as many crack pipes as the white community? Like, what's the equity, racial equity that you're trying to balance out here? It's so weird.
I mean, and there's a lot there. I mean, because when I was looking at that, I thought the same thing. Like, that phrase, "Key bono," who benefits? Because we know Black people are not going to benefit from this. No. I mean, with $30 million, I'd rather see that go even towards a private organization whose purpose is to get people off of drugs. Correct. Now, I'm not into too much government involvement, but if it's going to be involved, I'd rather them support an organization that knows how to get people off of drugs. I mean, that's not going to help anybody. And when I saw the word equity, I got suspicious, right? And I read the document. I read most of the document. And it's interesting because they don't really explain how this ties into racial equity. And to be fair, the $30 million isn't just for the crack pipes. It's also for other stuff too. Some of it, I'm like, okay, maybe that might be okay. Most of it, I was like, no, this is not going to help. And I'm wondering how this is going to even contribute to racial equity, because white people are starting to do crack more too. I read the stats. Right now, white people are 9 times more likely to at least try crack than Black people. Now the percentages are still disproportionately Black, but still, white people are getting into crack too, which I never thought I would see this day. But the whole situation is messed up, and to me, the confusing part was the racial issue and who benefits. Because like I said, they know Black people aren't going to benefit from this. And when I see the word equity, I'm thinking a lot of different things. But my next question is, when a Marxist uses a word like equity, what does Hotep Jesus hear?
Theft. Rob one group, give to another. I also think equality through poverty. Right. So everybody would be equal, but equally poor, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I think about. Yeah, I warned people years back. I said, hey, I just started studying Marxism and communism, etc. And I'm reading through the document, and I'm like, wait, this is America. This is the system that like America seems like the dream. So I went and did the lookup, and it seems like all 10 planks of communism have been implemented at some point in America. We live in a Marxist nation. If Karl Marx was alive right now, he'd be like, "Oh, good job. You guys executed on this better than I could have imagined."
Yeah, and I remember you talking about that, and that would sound shocking to the average American, right? Like, no, we're not communist, and maybe we're not Soviet Union, but I mean, we can see the way things are going. Where are you saying this Marxist ideology, where have you seen that it's been the most successful in America? In what aspect?
In the monetary system. Plank number 5 under the communist 10 planks of communism is centralization of credit within the hands of the state. And we actually have that. And there were several attempts. I wrote the book, The Patriot Report. I do presentations on the chapters of the Patriot Report on my YouTube channel for the people who don't want to buy it or read it. But we had centralization of credit within the hands of the state attempted several times in this country. So the first instance was the Bank of North America. Then there was the first Bank of the United States and the second Bank of the United States. Then we had, instances of things like the crime of 1873, where, inflation and deflation. Then we had Keynesian economics completely ruin the dollar through the Bretton Woods Agreement. And that's what happens when you have centralized planning over the dollar. Just pure calamity, right? So if you ever take a look at the price of the dollar or its value, 1971 was a very pivotal year. That's the year that the Bretton Woods Agreement exploded and everybody cashed in gold for the dollar, several millions to several nations, France being one of them. And we're able to, basically what happened was it took the dollar and made the dollar the world reserve currency, just as it is right now. The only difference was America was a huge portion of the fund. I want to say 70% of the Bretton Woods Fund. And this was coerced by the IMF, International Monetary Fund. And so the United States was on the hook for most of the funds in the fund. And it tied our currency to bad currencies and basically said, no matter how much these foreign countries inflate their currency, we still have to continue buying their currency at the same price, right? So it's like paying, $1 for something that's really worth 20 cents. And then the sad part was that those dollars could then be redeemable in gold. So people always ask, like, hey, what happened to the gold in the United States? Where is it? It's like, it ain't here. You got to go look at the Bretton Woods Agreement, and a lot of people always talk about, how can you talk about conspiracy theories, where the gold is, Fort Dix, how come they don't shut you down? Is because that's a huge distraction, about where the gold is. If you studied history, you know that the gold was siphoned out of here through that IMF policy via the Bretton Woods Agreement. So when I think about Marxism in the United States, the first thing I think about is centralization of credit within the hands of the state. We think about FDR's New Deal and how that prolonged the Great Depression through all his government policies, right, etc. Right. You got to start with the money. Like I always say, if the money ain't free, the people ain't free, and the money ain't free.
Yeah, that last point was really, really powerful. I mean,
you have to liberate the dollar, right? Because what the dollar represents, right? So I always keep cash around. I got this $20 bill, right? Mm-hmm. What this dollar actually represents is labor, right? Somebody had to work for this, right? Mm-hmm. So if I work for this $20 right here, okay, and then this $20 is not worth $20 next year, what happens? My labor was stolen. You see what I'm saying? Like I worked for $20, and we're not even talking about the IRS, right? We're not even gonna go there yet. Just through inflation, my labor was stolen from me. Now I'm still paying the same rent prices, right? Rent ain't coming down based upon what the dollar is worth. Okay, my mortgage ain't changing. My car payment ain't changing.
But your labor is devalued, or the worth of your labor is devalued, essentially.
But the worth of my labor is devalued. And that's the big issue here. When we think about communism and Marxism, like Lenin said, 90% of communism is a centralization of the bank, right? So
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So, when we think about communism, the first thing you got to look at is the central bank.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because whenever I think of communism, and now I'm starting to kind of reconsider this, but I don't think about that. I think of, totalitarianism. I think of Joseph Stalin. I'm thinking of a system where we're all equally poor, like we were saying at the beginning. I'm thinking of a select few rising to the top because some animals are more equal than others. I'm thinking of things like that, of us, being told what to do, where we can go, what we can, who we can associate with, not being able to speak out. I'm thinking of, the cultural totalitarianism and what it does to free speech. But you just brought a whole different, because I knew a lot about a lot of the stuff you were saying, but I didn't emphasize it as much as in my brain I emphasized all the other horrible stuff.
Yeah, all the other stuff is the petals on the flower of communism. The root of communism is the centralization of the credit. When we think about Lenin and Stalin, what we're looking at is people who haven't perfected communism, right? So they were going about it in a very apparent matter. It wasn't overt, covert, or anything. It was in your face communism, okay?
Yeah, it was ham-fisted. Yeah.
Right. What we're dealing with today is like hidden communism, sneaky communism, right? It comes in your back door when you ain't looking. And that type of communism is more effective. And in order to understand that, what you got to look at is the Fabian society, right? So whenever I think about Fabian society, whenever you think about Fabian society, the first name that should come to mind is George Orwell, okay? Now, George Orwell was a member of the Fabian Socialist Society, okay?
And now what is the Fabian society, real quick?
I'm about to kind of explain that.
You're gonna okay,
yeah. So, all right. So basically, what it is, it's just a centralized group of individuals who call themselves socialists. It's like you have democratic socialists, you got the Fabian socialists, you just got a different group of socialists, right? It's just that this group happens to be very powerful and connected to Wall Street. Okay. So now, George Orwell was a member of the society. Okay. They had two logos. The first logo was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay. Yeah. That was a little bit too upfront.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. That's a little bit you on the nose there.
Yeah. But then they changed it and it became a turtle, right? And the turtle is supposed to represent the slow creep of communism. Because when you do it overnight, people rebel. But if you do it slowly, people won't. So I'll give you an example of how this happened most recently to us. SCOTUS had to deliberate on OSHA mandates, right, for the medical experimentation, okay?
Right.
And what they said was, for private businesses, you don't have to get the medical experiment, okay? But if you work for the government, you have to get the medical experiment, right? So some people cheered when this decision was made by SCOTUS because it said private people don't have to get the medical experimentation. But if you work for government, you do. So I wasn't cheering because I'm like, this is how Fabian socialists work. They don't want the whole thing.
Right.
They just want a little piece. They like, we'll come for the private later. See, this is how they're smart, right? And the thing is, they plan long term. This is the problem with people. People are, the everyday hoi polloi are very much microwave brain, right? They want everything right now. Yeah. They don't plan. They're not like, hey, what is this 10 years from now? Like when I invest in Bitcoin, I'm not thinking about Bitcoin this year. I'm thinking about what is Bitcoin going to be 10 years from now? And I'm just going to stack for that 10-year goal. Okay. So if you think long term, you'll be more successful. And that's how these people operate. They think long term. So like I said, Fabian socialists, we think of George Orwell. Okay. George Orwell was a Fabian socialist. So what you'll say is hey, you'll quote George Orwell or something like that, right? And people will say, well, he was a socialist. Like, well, to be technical, he was a Fabian socialist, and he was warning us because he actually saw behind the curtain. It's just like Jack Dorsey at Twitter. Jack Dorsey was exposing some of the things he didn't like about venture capital in startups. And people were like, but you took a whole bunch of venture capital money. And he's like, that's exactly why I get to speak on this. because
I've seen behind the curtain. Yeah.
Because I've seen behind the curtain. And the same thing happened with George Orwell. People would go, well, George Orwell was a socialist. And I'm like, exactly. He's trying to warn you because he thought he was getting involved with something that was altruistic or whatever. But instead, this is and I hate to just demonize the animal called the snake like that. So I don't want to do that. But this is just nefarious, covert operations to just undermine people. And like I said, you don't have to put people into gulags, although that's part of communism. You could just steal their labor by inflation.
Right. It's almost like they had to innovate the entire, really, that they're innovating the revolution, right? I mean, because before, the revolution meant violent takeover, communism tomorrow, like you said. Right. Can't do that now. Right. So if they're going to have their revolution, I mean, it seems like they're trying to affect this without firing a shot, at least not yet. And it seems to be a lot more effective than you and I would like, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, effective is an understatement, right? So there's three things wrong with Americans, right? Compliance, trust, and participation. Okay, too many people have complied with some of the mandates by the government. Too many people trust the government, and too many people participate in the government operations. Okay, so this is the three problems that we have with American society. And this is going to be in my new book that I'll be publishing later this year, hopefully. Aside from the fact that people aren't loving to be intellectuals. So when we look at the past few years, trust, right? Why do people have this trust? So that was people asking, why did you write the paper report? And I'm like, because I saw a bunch of people who trusted the government, wanted to participate in the government, and don't know the history of their government. So when I go look back and I find out that there was centralized banks coercing patriots to fight the Revolutionary War to create debt. When I find out that the Civil War had nothing to do with slavery and everything to do with this thing we call money, right? Mm-hmm. I said, I have to tell people about this. Now, I knew it intuitively, right? Intuitively, I said, I don't believe one thing we know is we've been lied to in school. Okay.
Right.
So you have to assume that everything you ever learned is a lie. Okay. And if it's not a lie, it's misleading. It's sending you in one direction while there's a whole other side of the story you're not hearing. So although they might give you the truth, there's a piece of the story that you're missing. So
they're not giving you all the truth. They're giving you the truth that leads you to the conclusion that they want you to come to. Just the same way the media works. Yeah.
Exactly. So you can't say they're lying, right?
Right.
So I'll say they're misleading. Okay. So you go look. I said, yo, I got to go find out what's going on here. So I went through the 2 years of research and then I published the book. But what I found out was the Civil War was very much about money, central banking, and the powers that be playing on both sides and saying, hey, let's incite this war. And then what happened? Well, the South went into debt. And after the North won, part of the agreement, I think there were 7 points to the agreement, or 6. And that basically what they said was you can't bring your debt when you come back into the Union. That was a big portion of it because the South had to borrow. Borrow from who, right? When we think about the Revolutionary War, right? The Revolutionary War was about the script, right? So this is this thing right here, this thing that we call money, this actual piece of paper is called a script, okay? In monetary terms, it's called a script. So what happened was the colonies wanted to publish their own script, and the people in London or Britain said, no. You use our currency, okay? Now we're told about the Boston Tea Party and a whole bunch of other things, stories, but we're not told that story. And that is the crux of what led to the Revolutionary War, because think about that. What did I tell you before? If somebody else publishes your money, they can steal your labor.
Right.
Okay. So what happened was you had a central bank in Philadelphia that was run properly. They were pushing fiat, but there was a 1-to-1 ratio reserve to gold. Okay. Then you had some other banks that were mismanaging their money. I believe it was Massachusetts. Okay. Don't quote me on that. So one bank in Philadelphia, and in order to do this, you have to read Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations. and he talks about how the banks were operating. This is like must-read material for anybody who wants to understand economics and money. You have to read Wealth of Nations.
Okay.
It's like 1,000 pages long, but it's just a must-read. So, and I know you got a bunch of questions, and I go into detail a lot, but we'll get to them.
No, go ahead. No, this is why I was saying, like, I'm probably have to talk to you a bunch of times to really get everything. Get in that.
Yeah. So in Wealth of Nations, you know, he talks about how one bank is operating properly and another bank is not. Okay. And so the British try to use the bank that's not operating properly as an excuse to say, see, you guys aren't responsible with the issuing of your currency. And because we're doing trade with you and we don't want to trade in this bad currency and you could destabilize your economy, it could affect us. And this is true. You know, when you're doing trade with a country that's doing bad business, it could affect you. Okay. We see that with China, right? So they use that as an excuse to say, no, you're using our money. And so we go to war. And in fact, there was even a letter sent to Britain. And actually, there was a letter sent from Britain to America. Okay. And British said, we're going to wait to see how they respond. And we responded properly. And then I forget the general's name, but the general was still attacked in Canada. So it's like, what made him still attack the British in Canada? It's all in the book. It's just crazy stories. But the fact of the matter is, the moral of the story is every single major war surrounded money, surrounded debt.
Right.
Why did World War II happen? Well, Hitler said, you know, that this reparations package y'all put together for us, this is unfair. We're not dealing with this.
Yeah, from World War I.
From World War I. Yeah. Right.
He used that masterfully. Like he that was, I'm like into persuasion, you know, you are too, marketing, and, you know, Scott Adams and all that. I'm like, when I read about that, I was like, I don't compliment him, you know, I'm not saying he was good, but I'm saying he used that masterfully and demagogued on that very effectively.
Yeah, I mean, let's remove, you know, the guy Hitler from the equation completely, and let's just say, as a nation, when you look at that agreement that they drew up on Germany, you're like, oh nah, like this is not cool.
It was messed up. I remember that.
And then when you look at World War I, you got to understand Germany was winning World War I.
Mm-hmm.
Their U-boat campaign was killing it. And then because there were financial interests in America financing the Allies, when we were supposed to be a neutral nation, a neutral nation is not supposed to, for example, if you have a neutral nation and you're going to fund or give supplies to, you have to give them out equally. If Germany wants parts for U-boats or guns, they have to, but you can't fund one side. Well, what happened was, because the financial interests had loaned so much to the Allies, they said, nah, America, go get my money. And that's why America entered the war. So again, American lives, 100,000 American lives were lost in World War I. Why? Because money men found those lives to be expendable to go get their money. So when people today, right, people ask me, we talk about money and say, what is the dollar backed by? And they say, it's not backed by anything. I said, no, that's not true, actually. The dollar is backed by something. It's backed by the gun. It's backed by the missile. It's backed by the bomb and our military industrial complex. Okay. It is backed.
That's why we're not, do you think that might be why we're not so worried about our national debt? Everybody talk, or especially Republicans. Oh, you're blowing the debt out of control, whatever. Do you think that might be why nobody really cares? Because I mean, if they're going to come collect, I mean, they really want their money back, and we say no, what are they going to do?
Well, so debt is leverage, right? So what they do is they leverage debt. That's what the money men do. So they actually want your country to be in debt, but they want you to be able to pay either in power, right? Like I get to make decisions, a la Bill Gates, right? Or land of something of that nature, right? But what they do is they practice a balance of power. Okay. So it's us like, yeah, these nations might be in debt, but we need them all in debt to us.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Now, if Germany wins the war, that means they make decisions for France. And so you're not going to get any land. You're not getting anything back because they would conquer those nations and say, yo, these are decisions we're going to make for you now. Okay. The Rothschilds, the affairs of France. No, like shutting all that down. Okay. Kicking all of that out. So they would actually, Germany would limit the control, the power. And that's really what this is about. The debt is to find control and power. It's not to be paid back, right? Mm-hmm. It's sort of like the drug dealer, right? It's sort of like the drug dealer who says, yo, we saw this in BMF, right? Blowing Money Fast, the new show on Big Meech, right? And his son plays Big Meech. And basically what happens is the big drug dealer comes in and he gives you drugs to sell on consignment, okay? Right. You're selling on consignment. What consignment means is you always owe him. So that means you always work for him. What they did was they got smart. They saved their money, got their own, paid off their debt and were free. And he like, no, y'all not free. Y'all mine. And he got very upset. Now they did end up going free, right? Because there's nothing he could do about it, right? Mm-hmm. But that's really what it is. They want you to have debt because where there's debt, there's control and power.
Right.
They just don't want one nation prospering and another one not. So, for example, when we look at the Russian Revolution, this is why you have to look at the Russian. Somebody asked me, is the Roman Empire the most important point in history? I'm like, I think in the Western world and modern history, it's probably the Russian Revolution because the Tsar was running that, and the Tsar was very Christian, right? Mm-hmm. Very, very much into the church, the Tsar in Russia, period, at that time period. And they had a massive amount of gold, okay? And then who financed the Bolshevik Revolution? Wall Street. Wall Street. Who financed Germany in World War II? Wall Street. You see, so Wall Street financed Allied nations in World War I, but in World War II, they financed Germany. The balance of power. Mm-hmm. Right? They don't want one nation to get too big and not the other, right? So you say, oh, America's greatest nation on earth. It's like, yeah, true, but you mentioned the debt. Now you say, why don't people care about it? Well, people haven't done their history. They're not intellectual. They don't even understand what this means, right? They don't understand the concept of leveraging debt, right? I can leverage debt and borrow against it, right? Blah, 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 blah. I can create currency based upon debt. You can do a whole bunch of things to leverage debt. I can own your kids based upon debt. You can just leverage debt for anything, basically. You should probably watch Ozark. Ozark's a good study too on money as well and understanding how money works.
I need to get back to that show, actually. Yeah, I think I watched like the first couple seasons.
Mm-hmm. Good. Oh, the new season just came out. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have to add that to my list.
Yeah.
But there, I mean, and I know we can keep going on this, but there were some other things I wanted to talk to you about. Right. But even right there, like you just dropped a lot of knowledge. Like so a lot of it, some of it I knew, some of it I didn't. But that's all very important stuff. I mean, and I think we should be talking a lot more about these things because what you just talked about, the average person doesn't know.
Right. And will deny.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, people want to feel like they're living in their nice, secure bubble and everything's all good.
Right.
But I want to talk a little bit about another controversy that's going on. But after that, I really want to talk about what you've got going on. But before I go forward, I also just want to remind you guys to head on over to libertynation.com, a proud sponsor of A Fresh Perspective, where you can sign up for the daily briefing, subscribe to the member zone. You can check out the latest cutting edge news and conservative analysis and new and original material with a giant helping of nuance. So you're not going to get all that normal right-wing spin. You'll get a lot of different views from a lot of different viewpoints: conservatarian, libertarian, anarchist, traditional Republican, all at libertynation.com, conservative news where truth matters. Now, before I go on to the other stuff, I really quickly, because this isn't the most important thing that's happening right now. And at this point, I think a lot of it is a distraction, but at the same time, I think that there's a conversation to be had. And I kind of already know the answer to this question, but what's your take on this whole Joe Rogan thing? What's going on here?
Oh, that's very simple. Um, what's the name of that group? Midas Touch and Patriot Takes, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I believe these gentlemen who are connected, via their father to people like Diddy and Lady Gaga. Okay, so these people are connected to the upper echelon of society, right?
No, I didn't
So
know
they have a
that.
lot of they have a lot of power influence. I did a presentation on this the other day. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can see my full hour plus long presentation breaking down the whole why Joe Rogan thing went viral. So I'll give you the
And
TL.
what's your YouTube channel again for people who don't know?
Hotep Jesus.
Just Hotep Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So they're kind of duplicitous and sneaky. So what they did was they said in the interview with Dave Portnoy, they said that Alex Jones created the clip. Okay, and that's a half truth. Okay, did Alex Jones post a clip of him saying something about Planet of the Apes in the movie theater? Yes, he did.
Mhm.
Was that a long time ago? Yes.
Yeah,
Did
very
Joe Rogan already apologize for that clip? Yes. So that's old news. That's the first thing you have to understand.
It is old news. Yeah, I remember it.
So when these gentlemen went and spoke to Dave Portnoy, they tried to push it off as if, the Alex Jones did this. It's like, no. So when I went and looked at their account, he even said, hey, the original clip has the InfoWars thing on there. And I'm like, okay, it does. But the clip you posted cropped the video so you wouldn't even see the InfoWars logo there because that would have confused people, right? It would have made people question, like, why did Alex Jones put this out, right? Which would have let people know this had to have been old, okay?
Right.
So the first thing they did was crop it, and they have a ton of influence. And who knows, right? Like what these people do is they have engagement groups, right? And I think many of us have engagement groups where we post a tweet in a DM and then everybody retweets it, right?
Right.
The difference is these people probably have a lot more influence than you and I, right?
Right.
So they'll have their pool of, it's probably a Telegram group or something like that. And they'll post a tweet and then everybody just retweet it and it'll just go viral, right? It just spreads 30,000 retweets or whatever. Okay. So they're the ones that resurface this. The question that you have to ask yourself is why now? The other thing we have to notice is that these individuals run a PAC, a Democrat PAC.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So people like to say this thing isn't political, but yet people running a Democratic PAC made this thing go viral, right?
What's funny about this is that even when it first came out, like even without knowing what you just talked about, I don't see how anybody could miss the fact that this was 1,000% political. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's obviously political, because it's only politicians arguing about this, right? I mean, the people have argued about it, but it's the politicians, right? It's like DeSantis versus whoever, right? So it's definitely political because it's politicians who get to decide who gets the medical experimentation. So it's political. It's
Right.
political at its core. Politicians didn't say, hey, you can go outside if you don't want to. They didn't say, hey, you don't have to wear a mask if you don't want to. No, it's literally legislated. So it's political. You have to do it, right? Or else, right? So it's definitely political. But in the interview with Dave Portnoy, the guy goes, yeah, this thing is not political. And then I forget how Dave responded, but the guy goes, well, Trump made it political. And I'm just like, oh, stop right there. On one hand, you said it's not political, but on the other hand, you said Trump made it political. Can't, two things can't be true at the same time.
Yeah, Trump is a politician. Like you just brought, wow.
You can't say it's not political, then say Trump made it political. Trump can't make it political if it's not political.
Right.
So if let's say Trump did make it political, then it is a political discussion, right? Like both things cannot be true at the same time. So yes, baby. You want to say hi to Jeff? Come say hi. Come. So yeah. So that's how that's it. So obviously, they astroturfed and then they got the tweet to go viral. But again, we have to talk about the timing of it all, right? Why now? Well, Black History Month, best time to get Black people riled up. Also,
best time to give them crack pipes too.
Exactly. But Joe Rogan's getting too big. He's getting way too big. Okay. We saw the Neil Young situation happen, right? And why did Neil Young pull his music off again? Was it because of misinformation?
It was because of misinformation. Yeah, him and Joni Mitchell and all them.
Yeah,
I was really disappointed in Joni Mitchell. I grew up with her music, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah,
yeah. So again, but you have to understand, I don't blame the entertainers, and I'm gonna tell you why I don't blame the entertainers. They're not aware.
Right.
And they're not aware, and they're not informed because they don't have the time to be. I was in the entertainment industry, right? And I remember some days being in the entertainment industry where I literally had 2 seconds to check my Twitter in an entire day. Now, if you stay away from Twitter for half a day, you come back, like, you've missed everything happening in the world, right? Just for half a day. So when you're a celebrity and you go a whole week without really being able to sit on Twitter and see what's going on, you have no idea what's going on, okay? So I usually don't blame them because they don't have the time to stay up. They could make time. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to make that excuse. But usually they're running from this interview to that to this. Then they're trying to get like 2 hours of sleep and then that type of situation. So I'm not going to make excuses for them, but I understand, okay? They don't have time to be informed. Also, they're in a bubble. They're stuck in a bubble. And the people surrounding them, their PR agent, their manager, all these people are Democratic. They're all liberal.
Right.
And everything outside of that bubble. Right. And everything outside of that bubble, if they become associated with, puts everybody's pocket in jeopardy.
Yep.
Everybody around them, their PR agent, their manager, everybody around them. So what do you think the people are going to say? Don't you touch that. Because that's going to affect my pockets. You better not put that MAGA hat on because you're going to mess up my money and you ain't messing up my money. So those people have a own self-interest to keep these entertainers either away from the conversation or on the right side of the conversation. Okay. So again, that's why I just take the entertainers and I just completely exempt them. I should write about the entertainers in the book so people understand this. Let me write this down.
Yep. And I think that does apply a lot of pressure because I've always thought the same thing. I mean, we always say, oh, if we know a certain celebrity may lean to the right or whatever, why don't they speak out? Why don't they say anything? I'm like, you don't understand how many people that could affect. So if I'm that person, I put myself in their shoes. You've got the people who work for you and you actually care about them because they're your friends and yada, yada, yada. Then, it's not just about you at that point. So
it's not. Look at Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon made that misstep, right? Where he talked about our beloved Jewish friends, okay? That didn't just affect Nick Cannon. Now, Nick Cannon could not work ever again and his pockets would be just fine. But everybody on that Wild 'N Out crew, like I seen girls on that show have to resort to OnlyFans, right?
Wow.
Like they had to resort to other means of income because they were dependent on that Wild 'N Out money. And they got a rude awakening to show like, yo, you better save your money. You better invest your money because at any moment, your stream of income could be just shut off, right? Because your boss made one misstep. So when entertainers don't just come out and say things, because they're not only responsible for their own self, but the 100 people that work for them. And you like, I know Susie is, dealing, she's a single mom with 4 kids. And if I come out, how's Susie gonna feed her kids? And she don't got a college education. She don't really got no real skills. I'm overpaying her because I like Susie and I want to see her win and she's doing better and she's able to put her kids in college, right? So
these are real consequences, real people.
These are real, this is real life. So that's why I say you have to take celebrities out of it completely and work with the celebrities that have the power to do that. Right. And there are some like 50 Cent, like he came out and said like, yo, something, positive, like, oh, this tax situation, I'm rocking with Trump. Yeah. And he retracted his statements later. Right. But in the moment, it didn't affect his pockets. It's 50 Cent.
Right. Exactly. Like he's independent. Like he'll still be okay and still be able to even employ the people he employs.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yeah. So like, and people don't take 50 serious like that because they know he joke around a lot. So he can get away with it because his brand is comedy. You know what I mean? He jokes around, he plays around a lot. But some people just don't have that freedom.
Yeah, I mean, and even with the Rogan situation, I mean, I think you said something that hit it on the head. I mean, he's getting too big. And the thing, this is not the first time this stuff has come out. They've tried to do this before. I mean, those clips, I mean, that may have been a new compilation, but I've seen other compilations in the past. I knew he had dropped the N-word because I used to listen to his podcast all the time. I still do. I don't listen to it as much, but I still listen to him. But I remember him saying that. And I remember after a certain amount of a certain level, I didn't hear him say it anymore.
Right.
So it's been like 9 years since I think the last time he said it on a podcast.
Right.
And for whatever reason, he stopped. Maybe he just figured, maybe I just shouldn't be using that word or whatever. But I knew from the get-go that this had nothing to do with racism. Like nobody thinks Joe Rogan is a racist except for maybe the rank and file. Nobody leading the charge. None of them. I mean, none of them actually believe he's a racist.
Right.
They're mad at him because of the COVID issue, because of the vaccine or the medical experiment. That is what all of this is about. And the fact that he is getting too big. And speaking from a media perspective, he doesn't have to filter his stuff through CNN or through Fox News or through MSNBC. He can just have whatever guests on he wants. He doesn't have to follow the rules because, those networks, they have to follow certain rules, or even news sites. He doesn't have to do any of that. He can talk to whomever he wants. And that's it. That is scary to a media establishment. It's very scary. So I mean, I'm not surprised that they're coming after him. Do you think that Spotify is going to cave, or do you think that they're going to stand by him?
No, Spotify's not going to cave. Let me take a look at I want to look at, see, what you have to do is you have to look at Spotify's money, right? And their board and where they're, so first of all, yeah, that's what I thought. Spotify is in Sweden, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is a Swedish company. So they're like, whatever you guys are doing in America and however cancel culture you got over there, like, keep that over there, right? Like, so that's the first thing you have to look at where their money interest is, and they're publicly traded. But yeah, like I said, I thought I was about to say Switzerland, but it was Sweden. Yeah, they're based in Sweden. They don't care about this stuff. They got a money interest. I don't think they're gonna cave, bro. They're not American.
Yeah, and they should. I mean, people are forgetting the fact that Spotify didn't give Rogan his audience. Rogan brought his audience over to Spotify.
Correct.
Spotify got an increase because they signed Joe Rogan. They knew what they were doing. Right. And his audience now listens to Spotify.
Correct. Like you look at somebody like India Arie, right? And no, this to India Arie. I love her music. I think she's a beautiful woman. Yeah, I love it. However, she's not missed at Spotify. Spotify ain't losing no money by losing her catalog. If anything, she's losing money by not being associated with Spotify. Okay, she's losing in that situation. So when you see people like Neil Young and whoever else, Spotify's like, all right, you can go. It's not going to hurt our bottom line. Joe Rogan more than overcompensates for what all the pennies you guys bring us.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm glad that that's the case. I mean, because I always say because this is not the first time they've tried to cancel Joe Rogan. Every time they do it, he gets stronger. He gets more people listening. Because if you're telling me I can't listen to Joe Rogan, guess what I'm going to do? If I wasn't a fan of Joe Rogan before and I think you're full of crap, now I'm going to go listen to Joe Rogan because you're trying to forbid me from doing it.
Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. He does 11 million an episode. Now you're going to do 12.
Yep.
Right. They just amplifying, but it shows that we're winning. They're scared and they're trying to do anything with their power, but it shows that we're winning. And we can't, here's the big issue. Joe Rogan saying the N-word doesn't affect my money. It doesn't affect my pockets.
Exactly.
Okay. It doesn't affect my family. He could say N-word from now to whatever, and my kids wouldn't know it. It wouldn't affect them. They say like, I could show them on the TV saying the N-word, and they'd be like, all right, Dad, why'd you show me this? Like, can I turn the video game back on? Like, I don't care, right? Like, it doesn't affect our lives. But what does affect our lives is Joe-flation. That hurts us, right? You're stealing my labor, your gas prices, supply chain. Like literally right now, I'm an equity partner in an AI company, and it's 12 weeks out to get a chip. Otherwise, we have to pay premium prices to get a ship, right? This is because the mandates disrupted the supply chain.
Yeah,
so the supply chain,
money, not Joe Rogan. Yeah.
So that's what's affecting us, not Joe Rogan. So, and that's what Democrats are slick with, right? They love getting us worried about the frivolous things that don't affect us, so they can pass policies like putting crack pops in the hood that actually do affect us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to take a look at. The other thing we're not canceling Joe Rogan is because he's a freedom podcast. Okay. Right. He's a freedom podcast and the biggest platform in the world. Okay. Mm-hmm. When you want freedom and you want liberty, you need all the freedom platforms you could get. No matter how many missteps they have, you need that freedom. He also needs to have his First Amendment right affirmed. So if he wants to say 1A, it's actually protected by the First Amendment. Okay. Mm-hmm. In fact, when you look at the circuit judge, Janice Rogers Brown in DC, who Biden, Clinton, Feinstein, Schumer, and Obama all voted against, okay, she was attacked by civil rights groups because she said if an employer is throwing racial slurs, that's covered under 1A. You can't sanction him for throwing racial slurs than an employee. Now, you might say, well, that's messed up. Okay, yeah. But she also said that you can't sue for emotional damages. This is a very practical, conservative thinking woman. How are you going to sue somebody for emotional damages? Like, how did the country even get to that point? That? Exactly, right? So you just want the bag. Just say you grifting and you want the bag, okay? Mm-hmm. But when she says you can't sanction a company for using racial slurs on an employee, although that employer is deplorable in their actions, government has no say-so in that case. Right. Government should have no say-so, because when you allow the government to tell you what you can and cannot say, you're destroying your Constitution. You're just burning it. You're burning it. Yeah. And then that is going to affect Black people. And we saw that because on Twitter, what happened? They used white nationalists first. They said, the white nationalists are using racial slurs online and doing all these things, and they banned them, right? But then you know who else got banned in that whole group? Black Twitter. Black Twitter got banned. And Black Twitter's like, yo, we've been out here rocking forever, and now all of a sudden my accounts are getting banned? What? Wow. What? And they couldn't understand. I said, see, if you would have affirmed the right of others, your rights wouldn't have been infringed upon.
Safeguarded your own.
And that's the key to all of this.
You know, it seems like anytime they try to do something like this, maybe not every time. You have to see your daughter, or?
No, she good.
Oh, she good. Okay. They always use us. They always use Black people. Like they do that all the time. Like they couldn't get rid of Rogan with the whole misinformation thing because that was already a load of crap. So what they do, let's see how we can use Black people to attack Joe Rogan. And they always say racism, but it's specifically with us because they don't attack people for anti-Asian racism as much or anti-Hispanic racism as much. It's always us. Why do you think that is?
I'm going to tell you why. The head of household in America amongst the Black American is the woman. Check this out.
Keep going. I know we're going to get in trouble, and I'm looking forward to it. I want the smoke.
We're a matriarch. We are a matriarch. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? I think there should be balance, right? But we are a matriarch, okay? And that's fine. So Paul buys the house. Paul dies. It's not called Paul's house. It's called Big Mama's house.
Right.
Pop could pay all the bills. We going to Grandma's house. Okay. In Black America, Black women are the intellectual part of the household. Men aren't. They usually don't make the political decisions. The Black women do. And the Democrats know this. What do we know about women? They make many of their decisions based upon emotions. So the Democrats go, okay, no problem. Let's distract them with all emotional things because women are naturally caring and nurturing. So when they see somebody get murdered, it hurts them and they should be hurt.
Right.
The problem is this is the ruse. This is the distraction. Let's get them focused on this so they don't see this over here. But that's why they do that, is because they know we're a matriarch. And it hurts me because I love Black women. I'm a feminist, right? A true feminist, right? Like, I don't believe somebody who's a man should be able to compete in women's sports. I'm a feminist.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I believe in affirming women. I don't believe in erasing women, as Congress did, and replacing them with something called birthing people. Right. I'm a feminist. I believe women
because
should
you want to protect women. Yeah.
I want to protect women. That's what you do as a man. Okay.
Yep.
Feminists don't protect women. They protect men.
Oh. Keep going. I want to hear about this. What does that mean?
Let's look at the rainbow situation. Okay. Who gets to profit most from feminism? The effeminate male. Who is most influential in makeup? Jeff Charles. Not Jeff Charles. I'm sorry I did that.
You heard it here, folks. I'm all about that makeup. Like those cosmetics, I run all that.
Charles something, I forget his name. Dance. You know, they create these spaces and they push the gay male to be the head. I don't want to get into that. Point is, and even now, right? Like when we talk about pronouns, the pronouns were literally created for the T community, but specifically males transitioning into female. Okay, so they're completely erasing women.
Yeah,
they're replacing women and allowing men to infiltrate and blur what a woman is. Okay.
Yeah, you don't see trans males, female to male, infiltrating the male world. Not like that. It's the other way around, just like you said.
And they don't highlight them. They only highlight, like I had Tori Nix on my platform, and she said, you know what I hate about the whole LGBT thing? And she's a lesbian. She said, on TV, they always show you the effeminate gay male. They'll never show you the masculine.
You're right.
Male. And there's a lot of masculine gay males. Okay. Maybe more than the other kind.
I think I would agree with that. I think they're probably even more common because just based on the ones that I've met, they have been more masculine in general, especially if they're a little bit older.
Right.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell. Right. Like I had a friend, he'd be lifted and whatever, and he acts completely masculine. He's gay. Right. But they'll never highlight that individual. Right. That's always the one who is going to replace the woman that they'll highlight. Right. Anyway, coming back to the subject matter of why they
use us.
Why they use us
to further their agenda.
To succinctly put it, because they can. Because they can. We allow them to. Again, what are my three tenets? I say compliance, trust, and participation.
Participation, yeah.
We participate way too much in the wrong kind of politics. We participate too much in party lines. In a town, you don't necessarily, now I could be wrong, I got to talk to Sonny Johnson on this, but do you have to be aligned with a party? You could be independent.
It depends on the city. Like in Austin, our city council technically is nonpartisan, but our city council is very much Marxist. We have one Republican. She got elected in 2020. She's a friend of mine. Because a lot of people are starting to push back against a lot of the stuff that's going on here in Austin. I won't get into all that. But in a lot of cities, technically, you can't have a political affiliation, even though you do belong to a party and people know whether you're a Democrat or Republican. On paper, you're nonpartisan.
Yeah.
And a lot of city councils work that way. Some do, some don't.
Yeah, I think the reason why people choose the party lines is just because of the infrastructure, right? You'll say, okay, well, if I call myself a Democrat, I'll get support from whatever Democratic committee is in my region or district or whatever, right? So it's just the benefits of being affiliated with one of the gangs, okay? But in a small town, you could run an independent and win if you organize your people. You could say, hey, this is the new black party, right? People always say, where's our party? You could create one. You could definitely create your own party in your town and call it, this is the new black party. You can call it whatever you want, right? But people don't organize there because the Democrats got us looking at the federal level. But the 10th Amendment says we need to be looking at the state level and then down at the municipal level.
It's way more important.
Way more important. Now, if we added our vitriol to those matters, then it makes sense. But it's just too much participation in federal politics.
Yeah, we've been very distracted. I mean, I can go on, especially even with the presidency. The presidency was never meant to be as important as it is, but we allowed it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to talk a little bit before we wrap up. I want to talk a little bit more about what you're doing. This Men of Order thing, I've been seeing you post about it, and I think I've read some stuff on there. I haven't dove into it yet. But what is Men of Order? How did that come about?
Go to the website now. Have you seen it?
I have seen it, but I haven't taken the
Did you
time
see it? Have you seen it within the past 10 hours?
No.
Is it menoforder.com? Yep, go to it right now.
Yeah, okay, I see.
You see it's new now, right?
Yeah, okay.
We had the site redesigned.
Y'all got some articles on here.
Yeah.
I don't see a Jeff Charles byline on here.
Who?
Jeff Charles byline.
We got to get you on here, man. We got to get you on here. So yeah, Men of Order.
Oh wow, okay. So you got different categories. Money, day. So is this like a blog for men essentially?
Yes.
Or
correct, blog for young men, right? So basically, our content archive helps young men acquire money and power.
Okay.
Wealth and power. Okay, which are very important. Ownership, right? Coming back to equity. So, how did this happen? Well, I actually coach people who want to be entrepreneurs. Okay, I teach branding and marketing and business development.
With your Mogul Summit?
Correct.
You're still doing that on Saturdays, right?
Yeah.
I for myself. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm still doing it. It's actually about to be rolled into Men of Order, though.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna actually launch a new program under Men of Order, and then everybody will be able to purchase through Men of Order. That's why you probably haven't seen it much. Because
I haven't seen the emails lately. Okay.
Yeah, I've stopped sending them out to the free people. It only goes to paid members right now. And then we're going to transition those paid members into the Men of Order package. So basically what happened was 4 of my students got together and said, hey, we all want to be entrepreneurs. We don't really have, a solid project. And they created something. And then I was very pleased. And obviously I was helping them. And they said, Hotep, would you want to be a part of this? And I had previously ran a blog. That's how I got the 50 Cent situation, because my blog was doing millions of hits a month. So I know how to make a blog work. Okay. I know this world like the back of my hand. So I said, sure, I'll do it. Months later, we rebranded as menoforder.com. It was actually at Hotep Nation weekend where I said, I was like, we're trying to think of new names because we didn't like the original name. And come here, baby. Come here, mama. So I said, I'll rebrand. And I was just sitting around. I'm like, I don't know. It's just some sort of Men of Order. And I was like, oh, I like the way that sounds. So yeah, I like the way that sounds. So we changed it. And then we got the new logo made. And then last night, the new website changes went in effect. And we also have a YouTube channel. So yeah, it's just a great place for people to come. And, we do money, dating, mindset, sports, tech, and culture. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I mean, this was started by men who wanted to find ways to create their entrepreneurial journey.
Right.
So I understand that, the money, mindset, tech, but why the dating? What does dating have to do with what you're talking about? And I think I know what you're going to say, but I want to know.
Male-female dynamics is a skill, and it's a skill untaught, especially when you're dealing with the modern Western woman who is a victim of being inundated with marketing and branding, okay, and persuasion. She's very much physically minded, and women are supposed to be spiritually minded, but this new modern woman has been taken away from her spiritual nature and moved into a physical nature where she's always concerned about how she looks and the items that she possesses. That's technically a male trait, right? Like men are supposed to be, That's why they always say like men are always caught up in their ego.
Right.
Come here, baby. Come here. Come here. Come say hi. Come here. Come say hi, baby. So come. So men are supposed to be caught up in their ego, right? But it had flipped, right? And they kind of got women doing that situation right now. So dating, right? So women play games. Let's just call a spade a spade. And it's part of dating culture. Animals do it, right?
Right.
This is very natural. So some people say, oh, when I date, I don't want to play games. I'm like, so you don't want to be a natural being. Because a woman has to find ways to scrutinize if she's chosen the right mate. See, it's the woman who dictates what the next generation is going to be like. It's dependent upon how she's able to select who she copulates with.
Right.
As she copulates with a bunch of idiots and thugs, well, she's going to create a generation of idiots and thugs. But if she copulates with the intelligent warrior, we'll create intelligent warriors. So it's the woman's selection. So she's not only trying to select the next generation, which she does unconsciously, but consciously she's selecting based upon self-interest. So she's selecting a mate based upon, so for example, a man's value goes up over time. A woman's value goes down over time. So she got to lock in something solid before she hits the wall.
Right.
That's why you have women in their 40s that'll just settle down with, the nice guy. When she was younger, she didn't want the nice guy, right? She wanted the bad boy. But she hit 40 and she's like, I'll settle down with the nice guy now because, well, I ain't got much choice. Right? Because I hit the wall and
gotta take what you can get.
I gotta take what I can get. Because if I don't take this nice guy, I might be single forever. I might never get married. And then my friends are gonna judge me. I'll never have kids, So the woman is vetting, she's scrutinizing the men she's dating and trying to figure out, hey, who am I gonna lock this down with? So she's gonna play games. For example, I had Gothics on, right? And I always talk about showing disinterest in the woman. Showing disinterest in the woman is very important to solidify your relationship.
Yeah,
so
you got to think of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Gothics tried to deny that that women play these games, and her boyfriend was like, "Remember when?"
I noticed that they always deny it.
They always deny it.
Whether it's you having that conversation or somebody else, I noticed they always deny it, or whether it's Kevin Samuels or whomever. Yeah, they always deny it.
So go watch the Gothics interview and I love Gothics, by the way. And her boyfriend goes, he says, "Remember when we were supposed to make it official and you were like, I don't know." And then I was like, all right, cool. And then you were like, wait, no, yeah, I do want to make it official. Now, if he would have simped out and said, oh my God, baby, I really want to be, why don't you want to be with me? She would have been turned off and she would have left him because she would see him unconsciously as masculine. And that's what women are vetting for, masculinity.
I can see that. That makes sense.
And security, right? What do you say? Men have to be secure in themselves. So I need you to be, a woman wants you to be secure with or without her. So the first test is to see, when I deny you, are you secure without me? How do you react without me? So he says, all right, cool. And she goes, wait, no. I do want to be with you. He's like, oh, okay, that's what I thought. And now they're engaged. You see what I'm saying? But I don't blame women for this. This is how they vet for masculinity. And this is unconscious. This is very much embedded in their DNA. So when we teach dating, we are giving men a skill that their father might not have given them. Right?
Okay. So now when you talk about that skill, are you talking about the skill of being masculine or adopting more masculine traits, or what would you say?
How to navigate the woman. Okay.
Now here's my question. Since the main impetus of the site has to do with entrepreneurialism, making money, being able to, build something, why would they need to know how to date? Why would they even need to be concerned about women like that?
Because not everybody has natural social IQ. Like I have natural social IQ, right? So even though, for example, there's a lot of people out here who are wealthy and still simps.
Mm.
You got women that just use them for their money, use them for trips, use them for clothes, handbags, food, dates, etc. Right? Just so she can take pictures and post it on Instagram. But she's not actually interested in you. So you're buying her time. You're not earning her time. So money is only one part of the equation. Money will get you women, but it won't get you interest, right? Like what men really want is to be truly desired for you, right? Do you love me for me or do you love me for my money? Now, the money will get you here, but what's going to keep you here?
Right.
That's why you see a lot of these girls go from one basketball player to the next, one football player to the next, right? Because she came for what she got. She came for what she wanted. She got the money, she got the dates, maybe a little bit of copulation, and then on to the next, right? But there was something about the man. Maybe it was even him. Maybe he just wasn't interested. Maybe he just wanted a fun night, right? But that's that game, right? Like also in dating is you gotta date a lot to know what you don't like, because you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
So when you end up with some crazy chick, you like, okay, here are the telltale signs of crazy, right? Here's the telltale signs of this, right? So you have to date a lot to see what to look for. So that's what we do is like in dating's a skill, and we want to give men something that their father maybe not even equipped to deal with, because we're in a different age right now. And when I was younger, you actually had to talk to a woman on a phone.
Exactly. Yeah. Or
now right. So now it's text. So how do you navigate social media? How do you navigate the fact that, back in the day, your girl could only be hit on if she left the house. Now she's going to be hit on all day, every day on Instagram.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
How do you navigate that? Right. So these are the problems that have arisen. And this is what we try to help men with.
So what do you think about the idea? Like, I'm just going to say this and then I'd like your reaction to it, because I agree that men want to be desired. That is 100% true. What do you think about the idea that a man who wants to build something, like you're building stuff, or there's stuff I'm trying to build, about the notion that a man, at least most men, need a good woman by their side to really achieve their potential? Not that they couldn't succeed without being married, but that maybe they couldn't reach the heights that they could without a good woman by their side. I mean, because I would see how that would actually also translate into what Men of Order is about. Well, what do you think of that idea?
I don't think that's true. I don't think a man needs a woman to reach his potential. He actually doesn't need a woman to reach his potential. Can a good woman be helpful? Yes. See, women could either be your Achilles heel or they could be your superpower.
Speaking from experience, what you said is 100% right.
Right? But if you eliminate them from the equation completely, you can still achieve anything. That just goes back to regular, mindset. Male, woman, no matter what sex you are, you can achieve anything. You don't need anybody to do anything, right? You can go out in this world, you can network. And so obviously your network is helping you achieve things, but you don't need a boyfriend or a girlfriend to achieve your goals. You can do that. And some people can do that alone and need to do that alone, right? To focus in on things. Sometimes women can become a distraction. But if your woman is a superpower, for example, Jeff Bezos, right? Jeff Bezos' wife was a superpower for him. She's the one that put together the first business plan, right?
That's true.
So a woman can be a superpower, okay? Bill Gates' woman wasn't his superpower, but maybe later on in his life, Melinda Gates was able to do things to help him out. So I think a woman can help you excel. You just have to choose the right one. And that's part of why we teach dating too, is knowing what to look for in a woman. So what I say is a man's not actually looking for a wife. He's looking for a mother, right? So you have to select a woman based upon her motherly traits, because at some point she's going to have kids, right? If you look back in the old monarchies, what were they talking about? Royalty. Oh, I need a son. 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 Right? They weren't concerned with women like that, except for, sexual pleasure. Get me a son. And that's just what this whole nature thing is about. Creating the next generation. Male and female come together to create children, to keep the species going. At the very carnal level, that's what all this is about. So at the unconscious level, that's what we are about. It's only at the conscious level where we start dealing with emotions and feelings and all that stuff like that, right?
That's true.
So, so I don't think, men need women per se, but again, she could be a superpower if you pick the right one.
And I think that's also a very important skill, because choosing the wrong one, like you said, that can be your Achilles heel, and that can blow up your entire world, really. I mean, yeah, it can. Yeah. But if you get the right one, the one that can be your superpower, I mean, and I think you're probably right. I mean, people, they have their potential and they can reach it. But a woman who's a superpower as a wife, that's going to make it easy. I think it will make it easier to get that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would definitely agree. She's ready to build with you. And you mentioned build, right? So building is very much what a man should be focused on. And that'll get the woman, but again, how you interact with her is going to be the difference between if she has genuine desire or fake desire for you. If she desires other men or only you, right? So that's why we teach dating, because no matter you should be, you think about this. Dating products sell for thousands of dollars sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Easily.
Masculinity conference, $3,000 to come and buy a ticket. So these ain't broke men coming to get advice on women.
Right. That's true.
Okay. So there's a lot of I spoke at a masculinity conference, spoke to wealthy men. Hey, I need advice on women.
Okay, so here's a question about. I'm sorry, I think we're over time. Are you still okay on time?
Keep going.
Oh, so with these men, I mean, because I'm sure that after you spoke, and people, I had probably a lot of people coming up to you, and I'm sorry you get. I'm sure you get a lot of questions. What would you say are like the top 2 issues that men struggle with the most when it comes to this topic?
That's a hard question for me, because I mostly deal with men in business. I usually, in the manosphere, I usually focus on the money side of things. If I had to take a guess, it would probably be in the genuine desire category. Like, how do I actually get her to like me? Right. Getting her in bed is usually not the problem for men. Although there's a lot of 30-year-old virgins out here. But that's not usually, that's not even what men want. They want a girlfriend. They want a wife. They actually are emotional beings, right? And it's just like, how do I get her to like me? And the key to that is the distraction of your mind. That's how I'll succinctly put it. Because you are gonna think about her. Men like to pretend we're not emotional, but we definitely care about women. Yeah. We definitely fall in love. We're definitely romantics, right? Going back to Rome. So I always make the joke. I say, if you're thinking about her, you need another her. That way your mind is not so fixated on one woman. You see what I'm saying? Right. So that's just more of like a hack. I would say an unhealthy hack. But you have to show disinterest to get her interested in you.
So would you say that maybe another distraction other than another woman might be more healthy?
That's why we say focus on your work, focus on building. Yeah. Right? You should, like another quote from me, you should be so busy you're not thinking about her.
That's the quote. That's what you had said. That reminded me.
Right. Yeah. So that's the healthy version, right? Be so busy you're not thinking about her. Because, when we talk about texting, right? People say, oh, he texts back too fast. You've seen girls say that. Oh, he texts back too fast. Yeah. Really what you're saying is I'm always available. And they don't like that. They like a man that's out working and busy, and they want to miss you, right? If you're always available, how does she have the opportunity to miss you?
Yeah. Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder. This is the nature of human beings. So instead of trying to play the game and like, oh, I see her text me, I'm not going to text back. Be busy, and that's the reason why you didn't text back.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that you're having to use willpower to not text back. Like,
right.
and plus, even from a professional standpoint, being too busy means that you are actually building something. If you're always available, you're probably not doing much outside of this relationship. Yeah, there we go.
You nailed it. That's the message you're sending her. Oh, he ain't got nothing going on in his life. He's a slacker. He's a bum. If you're available to text me like this, that's the message you're sending her.
Yeah, that makes sense. And plus, I mean, if you are genuinely busy, that takes away the disingenuousness. I mean, because if you see the message and you're like, oh, I'm going to wait like 3 hours before I respond, it's kind of disingenuous, right? Because you could respond right then. But at the same time, if you actually are too busy, now it's real. And she sees that you're actually building something. Because guess what you might be talking about when you text her back? Hey, I was doing this. I got this done or whatever. That also sends a message to her. Yes, this is a man that is actually going places, that is in the process of doing whatever. So I can definitely see it from that perspective.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of times when I've heard other people talk about that, it's more of like a pride type of thing, right? Like it's just like, oh, I'm too good to respond right away. And I think that a lot of other people, when they say what you said, they're not really thinking about it the way you are. The way you put it is actually a lot more productive and healthy than what I've heard a lot of other guys say.
Yeah, well, because they don't have the experience, right? They're usually young and they're grifting off of the opportunity. They're grifting off the market. I actually want to help people, right? Like that's my motivation. I think another thing that is different between me, Coach EO is like this too, but we blame everything on men. Everything wrong in the world, we blame on men. Feminism, we blame on men. Okay. Now, there's some people in this space that find everything that a woman does wrong, and they use that to leverage their audience into more clicks and views. Like, oh, look at how women treat this. Look at Brittany Renner. Da 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 da. When I published my Brittany Renner post, I said Brittany Renner's doing exactly what she's supposed to do. She's being
how talking about that altercation with the
basketball player that she got knocked up by.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking because there was that video that came out with her.
Oh, with like, Fresh and Fit.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. No, that's after the fact. What we're talking about here is she allegedly put her baby daddy on child support, blah, 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 right? Mm-hmm. But they were saying that she was selecting specifically rich men. But that's what women are supposed to. They're supposed to lock down their security. They're supposed to be hypergamous. They're naturally hypergamous. So she's doing what she was supposed to do. Now, if he made the mistake and chose, and I like her, I'm not calling her a bimbo, but if he chose a bimbo, that's his fault. Like, you get to choose who you lay down with, right? And if you allow your physical to take over your mental, then you're going to make bad decisions in this world, right?
You know, it's like with Megan Good getting that divorce from her husband. I don't know if you heard. Yeah, same thing. I mean, I was talking about that with my girl, and I was like, he knew who she was before he married her. Like he knew what he was getting himself into.
He wasn't built for a woman like that.
He's not.
I knew that wasn't going to work out when he first got with her.
Yeah, he's a minister. I mean, like, and I'm not knocking Megan Good. I like Megan Good, but that was just that. You're right. That wasn't going to work because that's not her. Her world is not his world. But he knew what her world was. It's not like she conned him. Mm-hmm. He knew.
He treated her too good.
Right. Yeah, and I can see why you would say, you know, blame it on the men, because men, we choose to. We are the ones that choose.
You know, the biggest problem men do is they spoil women, right? So, for example, you know, you buy a girl flowers. You should never buy a woman flowers.
We broke up. Oh, say it again. I think we broke up.
Yeah, I said you should never buy a woman flowers. The only time you buy a woman flowers is to reward her for good behavior, right? That's why you give a woman gifts, to reward good behavior, right? Because sometimes you're dating a girl and you buy her things and you get her to buy things. Do you like her? No, you buy things because she brought you a sandwich at work, right? She did something nice for you. This is just basic human relations. It should be reciprocated and gifts should be earned. You reward people. And if people treat you good, you should treat them good back. The problem is we lead with our pocket. And therefore, we create artificial relationships with women. So you're like, oh, I'm going to do something nice for babe. You're going to turn her off when you do that. Now, if you say, hey, you know, thank you for bailing me out of jail. Here's some flowers. Right?
That would definitely be an occasion to get your woman flowers. Yes.
Absolutely. Right? Like, you reward good behavior, but that's a way to say, I'm not just sending you these flowers because I'm a simp. I'm sending you these flowers because you did right by me. Or I'm going to take you out to dinner because you did right by me.
So would you say that there's no situation where a man should just get his woman, whether it's flowers or chocolates or whatever, just because he was just thinking about her that day?
Correct.
Like never?
Never.
Wow. Wow.
You can do it if you want to, but you are going to get nothing out of that. You might feel better because naturally we feel good about doing nice things for people. So you might do it for you, but you're not going to strengthen that relationship any, unless you have a woman who deserves that type of treatment. You know, some women nurture their man. They look out for him and thinking about him every single second of the day and always trying to figure out, you know, like, you know, some women just like buy things for you randomly. Then yeah, you should probably buy things for your woman randomly.
Yeah, I mean, because even if there's not something specific, because she may not have done anything specific, but
right.
maybe, you know, I'm reflecting, or a guy's reflecting and thinking like, man, she's been really good to me over these past few years or whatever, and I really appreciate that, and I want to do something to, maybe there's not something specific that she did, but you buy her flowers because you value her because of what she has been to you. Would you say that falls in that category, or would that still fall under?
She has to be nurturing. If she doesn't nurture you, she doesn't deserve to be rewarded. A woman's supposed to be nurturing. Remember, we're looking for a mother, not a wife. So she has to be nurturing to you, and then you reward her with that. See, male-female relationships come with a debt. When you date a girl, you pay for the first date, the third date, the 8th date. She got debt backed up, bro.
She's in the hole.
You bought her some new shoes. You bought her flowers. You bought her jewelry. She in the hole, right? So if you continue that behavior, you're rewarding bad behavior. You're saying you don't have to do anything in this relationship.
That makes more sense, because I remember you talking about that with Wendy, but hearing you flesh it out, that does make a little bit more sense. And because the reality is, if I'm with a woman who doesn't put anything into the relationship, I'm not going to want to get her flowers. I'm not going to want. At a certain point, I'm going to be like, okay, this is one-sided, or maybe she's even doing the opposite and being your Achilles heel.
Right.
You don't want to get her flowers in that regard. So in a sense, what you're saying is almost like a natural outworking of the relationship. I mean, if your woman is good to you, you're going to want to do those things because she's good to you.
I look at, because I'm a businessman, I look at things through a business lens. Mm-hmm. If I have an employee who works for me and one of them is busting their butt and the other one is not, who am I giving the raise to?
Yep.
I might fire the other one.
Right.
This is just natural human relationships. If you have friendships, right? For example, let's say we got a marijuana habit, okay? And you got one friend who always comes over and is like, hey, you got any bud? And never puts in.
Right.
He don't throw 5 on it or nothing. But you got another friend who comes over and he got a whole ounce. Right? When you hang out with that friend and you go to his house, you might show up with an ounce. Right? This is a reciprocating relationship. But you got that
chronic economics.
Chronic economics.
Chronic.
This is chronic economics. Now you got that one friend.
I'm sorry. That's funny.
You got the one friend who never put in on the blunt, and you go to his house, you like, and he don't got no blunt when you get to his house, but you always got a blunt when he come to your house. You got to dump that friend.
Right.
But when we deal with women, we don't operate on that like that. We give her things to get her to like us. And that's not how relationships are supposed to work.
Now, okay. I think you touched on the issue there. I think you did. I mean, because there's a difference between buying flowers because I want her to like me.
Right.
And between giving her flowers because I'm grateful for her or for something that she did or has been to me.
Correct. A lot of men are trying to do things to make her like her. But if you got a woman and she's nurturing, she's supporting, and she's doing things and she's working and she's building with you, then random gifts have been earned.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense. I do think that makes a lot more sense. And I think with men, I think that, especially ones who are in the dating world, they do have to think of it that way. I mean, it goes back to mindset. Like you have to think when you're going to do something, whether it's flowers or even if it's something that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now in your relationship, you got to check your mindset. What is your mindset behind what you're doing? Are you doing this for her because you think that she doesn't like you and this will get you to do it, or that she'll stop liking you if you don't do it? Or are you doing this because of what she's already done? I mean, right. I think that in other aspects of relationships, I think mindset is important, especially for the male, because like you said, you blame, if it goes wrong, it's the man's fault.
Right.
So men have to be even extra careful with making sure that they're doing things for the right reasons.
Absolutely. Like, for example, right? Like, I don't take my lady out often, right? Because usually I'm busy and I'm trying to save money and we got plans, right? But we went out with her friend, right? And my lady treats me good. So we went out with her friend. I paid the bill. Why? Why did I pay the bill? It's a big bill too. Friend was ordering alcohol and shit. You know what I'm saying? It was a fairly decent bill, not humongous, but it's a fairly decent bill, right? Why did I pay the bill? One, because it's my lady, right? And I want her to feel appreciated. I also want her to look appreciated in front of her friends. You got to remember, female relationships are very judgy. Okay. So how you look in front of your woman's friends is everything, especially to her and to her friends. So when the bill came, I just pull out my credit card and her friend like, oh, damn, B, that's real nice of you. Yeah, I know. That's what men's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important. Now, me and my girl going out, sometimes she paid the bill now because she make big bucks. Okay. She make big bucks. So sometimes we go out for breakfast, it's her idea. No, you paying because it was your idea to come out the house. It wasn't my idea to come have breakfast. You could have stayed home. Okay. I'm cheap. But we go out with her friend. Nah, I got this. Right. Because I need her to make sure she looks appreciated in front of her friends, because friends like to run their mouth and talk, and they're going to talk ish. So when she go out and talk, she going to have to say good things about me. This is war.
That's kind of where I was going to go. I mean, that was a whole strategy. Absolutely. I mean, it wasn't because, I mean, I'm sure that you get along with her friend and that you were cool with her friend, right. But that was a strategic move so that when she is out with her friends, you know, and I'm going to get myself in trouble, but especially with Black women, you know, when a woman's with a man and she's got her friend who maybe is bitter, maybe she's been in a few bad relationships, she is looking for something wrong with her man. She wants to be able to say that nigga ain't nothing, you know, but if you do what you did, then you get her friend on your side.
Right.
I can see that. And I see nothing wrong with that. It may sound a little insidious, but it's not. It's a good thing. Why not?
But this is a big argument in Black Twitter, right? Where they argue. Thank you, baby. See, she bring me food. That's important for me. That's my love language. Okay. So Black Twitter, they argue, say, if you go out with your girlfriend and she brings her friend, are you supposed to pay? It's a loaded question. Are you supposed to pay? Hell no. Should you pay for your own self-interest? You probably should.
Good idea.
It's a good idea for you strategically, because you want to render her friend impotent.
Exactly. Or even get her on your side. Because I mean, just like in your case, like her, I mean, when they go and they have their phone conversations or they're going out to coffee, their friend will even boost you in her eyes too. Absolutely. And that will also strengthen the relationship, because now she's hearing from somebody else. It's not just you telling your woman how great you are. There are other people also telling her, so that she appreciates you more. And I'm sure that might even go the other way around, really. I mean, with the man having his male friends, you know, and it's even like, you know, like you have a Super Bowl party at somebody's house and his wife is coming out and bringing all the guys beers and stuff like that. The guys turn around and say, man, you got a good woman. You got a good wife there. So it's not just, it doesn't just work our way. It can work the other way too. It just looks different when women do it and when men do it.
Correct. But, you know, in relationships, you get out what you put in. You know, if you've been putting into a relationship and you ain't got nothing back, you need to get out of that relationship. Right. But if you have put nothing in that relationship and you're getting nothing out of it, maybe you're not getting nothing out of it because you ain't putting nothing in it.
That's true.
You know, so the more you put into the relationship, the more you'll get out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like I could talk to you about this all day. I know we don't have time, but why don't, man, I don't even know, because there's just so much. So what do you Hotep Jesus focus on the most right now? I mean, you've got your hands in a lot of different business ventures. What is top of mind to you right now? I know Men of Order is there, but what else?
So what I teach my kids is something called a ritual. Okay. Mm-hmm. Ritual is something that you do daily. So I focus on my rituals. In business, there's only a few things that are actually going to turn the needle for your business, right? You know, if you're a consultant, you got to send those emails out, right? Or DMs out for prospects, right? And maybe that's the main thing you need to be doing.
Right.
And you slip for one day, your pipeline is not gonna be full of prospects to close for leads, right?
Right.
So every day you got to be out there doing that. You have to find out what's really going to turn the needle and create some ROI for you. And usually it's just one task or a handful. For me, I have several rituals, okay? And they're based upon goals. So the first thing you have to do is you have to figure out, where do I want to go? And you don't necessarily have to figure out how you're going to get there, because how you're going to get there is actually unknown. That's the biggest thing.
Right.
What you have to figure out is, what are the daily things you have to do that get you to the goal? Right. And that in turn is how you get there. For example, I want to be a chess master one day, a national master. Okay. How I get there comes down to, what do I do daily? I have to read my chess book. Okay. I have to spend time doing that. I have to do puzzles. I'll play a couple of games. I'll study some end games. I'll study some openings. I'll work with my chess coach 3 times a week. But daily, I also want to learn a new language. So what do I have to do daily? I have to open up my language app and Estudio. Okay. I have to study.
Do you use Duolingo or something else?
Duolingo.
Duolingo is great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
One time for Duolingo. Let me just tell you, it's worth the yearly fee.
Yeah, it is.
It's worth. I didn't think an app could teach you a language. This app teaches you the language in a very effective way.
A lot better when I started using Duolingo. Like but the thing is, this is where I always fall short. I didn't keep up with it. I started getting caught up with other stuff, and I get distracted. I got the ADD, so I'm like, I need to get back on it. It's on my mind, but if you stay with it, and if you're on it, and you practice at least a little bit a day, you will be able to speak some Spanish or whatever language you're learning.
The ritual. And the thing is, with the ritual, it has to be done daily. It can't be done 5 days a week, 4 days a week, or even 6 days a week. Every single day you have to do your ritual. Okay. For me in business, every single day I have to be on YouTube. Every single day I have to send an email. And this is the core of my business. Everything else coalesces naturally. Opportunities spring up because you're doing these things.
Right.
Okay. Because I was out there talking about chess and doing chess daily, a coach came to me. I was presented with a coach. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be in whatever you want to do daily. And so that's what I focus on. I don't focus on what I'm doing next month or next week. No. Did I do the things I have to do daily? Because if I do the things I have to do daily, the things I have to do next week and a month present themselves.
That's true. Huh.
I always teach my students that. They say, oh, you know, da, da, da. I'm like, no, you need to figure out what you do daily. You know, for example, Hotep Nation. People saying, oh, it'd be dope if we had a video guy. We should go look for a video guy. I said, no, we should not. Keep your nose down and do what we do daily. That will come. What do we have now? A video guy giving us tens of thousands of dollars worth of work for free. Why? Because he loves what we do.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
But he loves what we do because we put our nose down and built a brand that he sees a beautiful future in and wants to be a part of. Had we focused on all the little pieces of what they call marketing and promotion, everybody wants to try to do all these things in marketing and promotion. No, those things happen out of necessity. I'll give you another example. People start up a brand. They're like, oh, we got to create t-shirts. No, you don't. What you need to do is you need to build a brand that people turn around and ask for t-shirts. For example, Hotep Nation's first t-shirts were born out of necessity. We were running Hotep Nation. People said, yo, we need t-shirts. Like, nah, that's every hoi polloi does that.
Yeah.
And then they sit up there, and now you're trying to sell your product and t-shirts, right?
Well, I think you need to hit your thing right there.
I need to hit it, right?
Yep. Yeah. Because what you just said, like that just blew my mind right there. Because I've thought about, at some point I'll do t-shirts. But you're right. When you do your daily, and I like that you use the word ritual, because that has a religious connotation. Like you didn't say like a to-do list or a checklist. Rituals that you perform as if this is your religion. I'm not saying this should take precedence over who you believe God is. I mean, this ain't going to take precedence over Jesus for me. But you're right. And when I look on my career, I mean, mine was always about writing. And I knew that as if I stuck to it and if I did it all the time, and it did help that I was getting paid to write. But even if I wasn't getting paid, if I stuck to it, it would lead to other opportunities, which is exactly how things have progressed for me. Like the first site I wrote for helped me get into the second site, Red State, which first it was Liberty Nation, and then Red State. I still write for both, but both of those things have led to appearances on different shows and stuff like that. And now I'm in a position to where I have to say, okay, what rituals do I need to add on to continue to get to where I need to be? But yeah, you're right. It does create that.
You ready for another one?
Say what?
You ready for another one?
Yeah.
I'd rather another quotable.
Yeah.
Show me your habits, I'll show you your religion.
Ooh.
Show me your habits and I will show you your religion.
Show you what you worship, what your God is.
Show you what your God is. Okay. Your habits are the most important thing ever. And you'll see this in all the self-help books, and they nail this, right? And some people sort of just like overlook it. But I am a product of my habits. I just am. People say, hey, how are you so great at what you do? I'm like, because I have great habits. If I spend all my time reading and writing and studying, I'm going to be smart.
Exactly. There's no way you can.
You just can't. You just can't fail, right? If I say I'm not going to watch TV, and so for example, I'll work from let's say a good day, or let's say a bad day. A bad day is I'll work from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Okay. At 11 p.m., do I sit down and watch TV? No, I got to do an hour of Spanish. And I'm like this. I'm like, I got my phone in my hand and I'm like, but I have to get it done. I have to get it done. Right. For example, after that hour, what do I fall asleep to? I turn the chess games on and I fall asleep to chess. So I can kill two birds with one stone. I can put myself to sleep. I could study and build my habits, right? At the same time, right? So this is what we have to do is to look at, what are you surrounding yourself with that supports where you want to go? You know what I mean? But the ritual is so important, man. You got to have that ritual. You got to know what you do daily. And just, what I said the other day is success is redundant, boring. It's boring, it's tedious.
It's not sexy.
It's not sexy. Success is not sexy.
The result might be sexy, but the actual getting there, it ain't sexy. And
it's not sexy.
Yeah. And I even saw that in my own, like even when I started my podcast and I started doing YouTube, I was trying to make different logos and stuff like that. And I had one that was okay. Out of nowhere, I got an email from one of my followers who knows how to design logos. And she had just made one up for me. I didn't ask her to do it. I didn't even know she could do it. She just said, hey, I don't know if this would help, but I noticed that you're working with different logos. So I used to do this. And here's a logo that I made for you. I'm like, it was perfect. It's the one that I use right now. So I've seen that happen even in my own life.
That's what I tell my students. My students come. That's the first thing people do. They worry about the look of their brand day one. Like, oh, I'm starting a brand. I need a logo. I'm like, you need a logo. The logo you picked today ain't even going to be your logo next year. So
Right.
you could
Exactly.
you could play around with that all you want. What you need to know is you need to know your unique value proposition and your
Mhm.
ritual. That's what you need to figure out. You need to know your audience. That's what you need to figure out. And then once you, for example, the first Hotep Nation t-shirt came about because I was on Twitter doing what I do, and somebody goes, "Bro, you got any Hotep Nation t-shirts? I need one."
Mhm.
The product is born out of necessity, not greed.
See,
When the time is
you need to tell that to Maj because I've been trying to get him to have Black Guns Matter baseball caps.
Mhm.
Hasn't happened yet.
He's got a lot of products
He does.
too.
I have like 2 of his shirts. Like I don't wear political slogans, but
Yeah.
his is like the only one that I will wear because I believe in what he's doing.
Hats are
But
very important.
Maj, I need the baseball cap. I'm just putting that out.
Yeah. So that's another thing I tell people. T-shirts are probably the last piece of merch you should have. You need to have a hat, right? The problem with the t-shirt, the problem with the t-shirt is you wear it once and it goes into the hamper. You can't wear it every day, right? You can't represent the brand every day. But this hat, our followers, Hotep Nation, they grab that hat and it's the crown. And it goes on their head every single day. It can be worn. So the hat is the main thing you need to have before you do t-shirts. And t-shirts wear down, and then
They
after a
do.
while you're washing the car with them, you know.
Yeah.
But the
That's
hat,
laughter. Yeah.
the hat's where it's at.
That makes sense. That's another quotable. The hat's where it's at.
Hat's where it's at. And I charge $5,000 a month in Bitcoin for this type of information that people have just gotten for free. And I haven't even dove into my algorithm for branding yet, but we can save that for the next conversation.
Yeah, great. I mean, I feel like I got a lot of it. I mean, I kind of already knew that the things that I was doing were going to lead to other opportunities, but you kind of codified it for me. Like you kind of fleshed out and made it make more sense. Like using the words like rituals. What do you do? And I've been trying.
And that's why people pay me.
Yeah,
because they don't know what ritual to choose, and sometimes they pick the wrong ritual, and I'm like, "Ooh, you picked the wrong ritual."
Yeah, I've heard on some of those calls. I mean, like something they think that what they're putting their energy into is going to help, but it doesn't.
Yeah, so that's why you hire me as an expert, and then I say, I'll audit your current business and say, "Oh, you don't got the right rituals. Let's give you the right rituals. These are the ones that are actually going to get you to turn the needle." And sometimes you got too many rituals. That's a big problem too. Everybody, they started branding like, I gotta open up my Instagram account, I gotta open my Facebook account, I gotta open up my TikTok, oh, you gonna run all those accounts? Oh, you must be Superman. Okay. So I don't know how people do that, especially when you got to work on the core of the business, sales or whatever. So people always say to me, "Yo, how'd you get 200,000 Twitter followers?" Because I only focused on Twitter, and I neglected Facebook, and I neglected Instagram, and I neglected TikTok, and I neglected everything. I just focused on Twitter. You spread yourself thin, so you only got 5 here, 5 there, 5 there, but I got 200,000 on Twitter. That's way more powerful than anything.
Well, and your book helped because that's actually what I did, and that's actually how I've been growing my following. I just started using Instagram, and I don't even mess with it that much. Facebook I just use for personal stuff, and I'm rarely on it. But Twitter is where I am, even when it's a cesspool. Like I have to be on there, not just because it's fun, because that's on, but because that's actually one of the main ways I built my brand, other than writing. And your book helped me a lot. Dominate Twitter. By the way, buy that book. Dominate Twitter. Is that? Tell them where they can get that book.
It's at my website, hotepjesus.com or briansharp.co. That's my avant-garde work. That's my marketing formula. Yeah.
It's taught me a lot. Yeah, and you got to read it more than once. I mean, I'll probably end up reading it again just because there was so many tidbits that I ended up using. But the key was not to try to use it the way Hotep Jesus uses it. Do it the way Jeff Charles does it. That's what I had to do. And you got to take what Hotep Jesus says in his books and apply it to your style, to your brand, because it's not all the same thing. But I just
provide the framework.
Exactly, the framework. Yeah. Use the framework and it does work. That
book is a gem. It came about because I was on Twitter and my mind was occupied with these rules of marketing, and I had to get them out of my head because they wouldn't stop swirling. You know what I'm saying? So I put them down on paper and then turned it into a product, a book, and I made it a high price because the reason why the book is $50 is because when you make something cheap, people don't execute on it, right?
They sure don't.
They don't. But if you spend a lot of money on something, you know, for example, the Peloton, you know why Peloton's so successful? It's because it's expensive and people actually use it. Because it's like, you ain't going to be paying $1,000 a month or whatever the fee is a month and had a thing just sitting there because it's coming out of your bank account.
Right.
If you make a gym membership cheap, you won't show up.
Yep.
I think I paid $12 for my gym membership. I haven't been there since last year. But if my gym membership was like, what's that expensive one? I forget the name of it. It starts with an E. But it's expensive. So if you paid $500 a month for a gym membership, you'd have your butt in that gym.
Yeah.
So I high priced the book because I want people to actually execute on it and actually read it. And like you said, you got to read it more than once because it's potent. You're gonna read it and something gonna slip by. And the second time you read it, it's like a movie. You're like, oh, I missed that part the first time I read it. And that was valuable, right? So yeah, super powerful document. I mean, all of the grifters have read it, all of them use it. It's like the playbook for and so the why Twitter, right? That's the big question. People say, why Twitter? Because that's where the movers and shakers are.
Yep.
The movers and shakers, the people that actually drive society forward aren't on Instagram.
Yeah,
I mean, they're there, but
they have a presence, but they're not moving things using Instagram. They're moving things using Twitter.
You want to network, you have to be on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really network on Instagram.
Nope. Facebook, I don't know. I haven't messed with it so much, but
you can't even really drive traffic on Instagram. You know, you put a link in a post and it's not clickable.
Right, exactly.
What is that?
Yeah, that's only useful for like showing people what you're eating for dinner or whatever. I mean, it's not as
right.
Yeah, I'm sure it has its other uses too, but yeah,
sure, it's got a bunch of uses. But yeah, Twitter. You know, if you want to grow a brand, you Twitter. You know, that's where you need to be. That's where 2,000 Twitter followers is more powerful than 10,000 on Instagram.
Yeah, I believe that definitely. Yeah. How much, I mean, because you've been writing a lot more books now. How much time do you spend writing for your books? So I'm actually starting one myself. I was starting one a while ago and I decided to do something else because that was the wrong ritual, that particular book. But the one I'm doing now is probably is better. But how much time do you spend?
So that depends, right? So for the new book, I haven't built up the ritual for it yet. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to get back in that mode. Because what happened when I wrote the Patriot Report, I was spending at least 6 hours a day.
Wow. Just writing or on other stuff too with it?
Other stuff. Research, writing. Because what I did was I did a bunch of research. And then as I'm writing the book, I realized I had to do more research.
That's happening to me already.
Yeah. And then fact checking the facts. Because I didn't want to put something in there that wasn't right or correct, or you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I didn't want to put fake news in my book. Okay. Right. Period.
Or misinformation.
Yeah. So it was a lot of that. So right now it's about, and that was every day. So right now it's about how do I get back to my ritual?
I see.
You know, how do I get back to that ritual? And because this new book is going to be more powerful. It's not a research book. It's more of a philosophical book about America and how we move forward to problems and solutions. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that one's a very interesting write so far. And it's more enjoyable for me to write, too, because it's not a research paper.
Right.
Patriot Report is a straight up research paper. Like, it'll put you to sleep. I ain't even going to hold you. Certain parts of it is just so fact heavy. It could put you to sleep.
It's a slog.
Yeah, it's just it's a research paper, you know, and if you're not interested in learning facts, like if you want to learn some facts, it's not going to put you to sleep, right? But if you're looking for like a pleasure read, it's not a pleasure read, right? It's not going to evoke any emotions, right?
Right. It's not a narrative.
Yeah, and it's not like super relevant to your life. Like I'm talking about World War I and Revolutionary War. It's not like I'm talking about Biden and you know things recent and Trump. This book I'm talking about Biden, Trump, you know, things more prevalent. So it'll hold your attention a lot more. The other book is more like sit down when you want to learn some facts. When you want to be a genius, you read this. This new book I'm writing now is more like if you want to expand your mind and have some strategy, then this is the read for you.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to that. But I think this is a good place to this. We could keep going on for hours, but none of us have the time. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming to join. I mean, because you always have a wealth of knowledge. I always appreciate your perspective and your insight. And definitely we got to do this again. But why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Twitter, Hotep Jesus, YouTube. I'm on YouTube daily. I probably got to get prepared for my stream today. I don't even know what I'm gonna be streaming about. I got to figure that out. So yeah, follow me on YouTube. And my website is briansharp.co, BRYANSHARPE.co. Yes, that is my real name. HotepJesus.com will redirect you to my website. So you can hit HotepJesus.com and it'll redirect you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining, and we'll have you back on again soon.
Hey, you're a good guy, man. I'm here whenever you need me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.